You mean it, yeah?
The troublemaker.
Oh, that's me, yeah.
Oh, that's me.
That's me, yeah.
Oh, look at my hair.
Okay, anytime, Rick.
Is that going to be up there the whole time?
Should we start it like that? Can we start it like that?
Yeah, it's just kind of weird for getting a line feed in front of you.
Hello.
I don't know, but it's pretty wild.
Is that over here?
How can you be getting that? How come we're getting that? It's a camera, isn't it?
That's, is that the,
It's also a teleprompter.
Yeah, the
but
teleprompter.
I don't know.
Hello.
I didn't know, sorry. Okay, anytime, Rick.
Okay, so, the second album, The Bends. Is this, I guess probably an obvious statement, but have something to do with you guys becoming successful in a really short period of time?
Yeah, it was kind of sarcastic, but not really. Sarcasm doesn't translate to music, but the reason we called it that was the first the title track was the first song we had for the album. So
There is a kind of analogy there, isn't there?
Yes.
Do you think so?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So
pretty
it
obvious.
was the first song you wrote for the album as well, then?
I actually had a full track of it when we were doing Pablo Honey. So I don't know why we didn't do it really.
When you were recording Pablo?
Yeah, actually in the studio at the time, I remember we were tracking some stuff and Tom was in his little cottage with a 4-track and he go, here, I got this song. And here we are, 3 years later.
2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah, 3 years
8.
later.
So it ends up just being an incredible coincidence then that it sort of reflects what happened.
Well, that, yeah, well, it's one of those songs that was like rambling round and just, you know, poured all this rubbish out into the song and then it all started happening, which is really odd. You know, I mean, I was completely taking the piss when I wrote it, and then actually the joke started wearing a bit thin.
What was, I mean, it could have been all bad. I mean, you had success, which I'm sure you would hope for
yeah.
when all that was happening. But was it getting to be a bit tiring, wearing after a while?
Well, I think it just took us completely, I mean, it took us completely by surprise. We had no idea that, you know, on this first album, you make a first album, we thought we'd maybe sell like 10,000 copies, 20,000 copies, tour it in the UK in the back of a van or whatever, and then 3-5 months later record another album.
And we were always taking it as a joke as well. You know, like the first 2 or 3 months, especially out here, we were sort of, oh no, it's all right, we're just English playing, you know, English card playing idiots, you know, it's okay, this is a joke, you know, we're not really famous, we'll go home in a minute. And that started wearing thin as well. So it was just, our whole lives changed and we had to get to the point where we could change them back again to actually continue. So we had to get some semblance of normality. It was just because as Ed said, we hadn't expected it, and it happened a bit too quickly, maybe. And it was just one song, and it was the sort of song that, like Beck's Loser, it was sort of, you can't get away from it really, because it is such an obvious statement, you know, and the irony was kind of lost on people, which was fine, but...
Yeah, the rest of his record is really good as well.
I know, yeah. Yeah, but, you know, try telling people that when they're buying it, you know.
Yeah, I know it. Let's see. I mean, the English press did have a good time with you, though, while that was going on. Is that, there are a couple songs, I mean, are My Iron Lung and Bulletproof sort of reactions to those? It happens to, I mean, it's something you obviously can't take personally, because it happens to a couple dozen bands every year. Whichever they decide that at first they love, and then see the big target on your back and take advantage of it.
Yeah, now they're kind of running around at the moment, which, you know, it's a wonderful feeling of running around sort of saying, but we loved you, we always loved you, we've always written good things about you, what do you mean we don't like you? Oh, okay, fine, you can come to our party. But the thing about Iron Lung, not really Bulletproof, the thing about Iron Lung was it was really, it seemed the only way to actually kill the beast was to write another song about it. But at the same time, if it was just a song about Creep, then it failed. But Bulletproof was a lot more than that. You know, that was Bulletproof came out of an instant when the first time we landed in Los Angeles and we got picked up by the record company in a limo. You know, they were little young chaps like in America for the first time, put in a limo, and the driver was sort of saying, yeah, well, you know, if you stop at a junction, sometimes people just come up and blow you away and take the car off, you know, they just shoot into the window and pull you out and drive off. And it's like, oh, I hope this thing's bulletproof, you know, or something like that anyway.
Welcome to America.
Yeah, right.
So this new video for Fake Plastic Trees, whose idea was you being in the carriage and in the colored hallway and all the effects?
Well, it was kind of Jake's, Scott's really. He rang me up one night and I'd been drinking, and he told me two ideas. One of them was a doll, which I didn't understand, and then he mentioned something about a supermarket, and I just went, oh yeah, and then spent the next hour and a half like him faxing things to me and me faxing things back. So that kind of how it happened really. And it was always the sort of song, I've always seen this Fake Plastic Trees as kind of an ambient song, and he was the only person who got that. You know, even if though it gets loud and sort of misses getting loud, and then carries on. And it's what the reason that I think the song is so powerful for us is because it is ambient, and the lyrics are sort of ambient as well. And that video was the only thing that seemed to convey that emotion, and it needed to be shocking because of that. And I think, and the idea of sort of putting us in the carriage is like, well, what are we going to do? You know, like for most of the song, people we're not really playing much. So I'm playing acoustic guitar, but that's very boring to watch. So we thought we'd sort of not be completely serious and sit in the carriage.
The supermarket is a big open space too, so that works great with it.
Well, yeah, but we actually artificially built it. I mean, because we couldn't actually find anything that really suited. You know, a lot of supermarkets are too small and stuff, and it was actually done in an airport hangar. Mm. So, and that means and it was just wheeling up and down for 2 days in this supermarket trolley. So,
does the song sort of deal with like life being too superficial at times, or that sort of?
It's I think I've seen it when I wrote the song. I was actually pretty much trying to say nothing because I really liked the melody and I just wanted to put words to it without it having to be in any way profound. But sort of as it sort of went down and as I was listening to it back, it started. You know, a lot of the phrases in the song are definitions of how people define other people and so on. And lots of you know, what do you do for a living as the definition of your existence. So maybe that was part of it. I don't know. Yeah, possibly. I mean, on the one hand, I was really trying to write a song that meant nothing, and by doing so, did the exact opposite. I think so. I'm a bit stuck, really.
I'm Ed from Radiohead is your last name. You know.
Yeah.
There's other people introduce.
Yeah,
This is Rick.
I'm in a band.
MTV.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's you know, the implication being that nothing else is important.
I know. I'm not married. I'm not one of 5 brothers. You know.
Yeah.
I work in MTV. That's my existence. Yeah. Why Jake Scott to direct this one? You just like other things that he'd done, or?
Yeah, kind of. Obviously, he's got a great legacy, but also, what was the catchphrase that he used? Well, the reference points he said were Clockwork Orange and 2001, Stanley Kubrick. And when he mentioned that, and this kind of, he basically we could visualise his script really well. So it was like we all got really excited about it.
He was basically the only one who got the song of all the directors we talked to.
And he was the most enthusiastic as well.
Yeah, he was.
Definitely.
What about John Leckie?
He's a wonderful man. He's like our long-lost uncle. And he taught us how to use the studio and everything, really. I mean, when we went to do this album, we were in a pretty bad state, really.
Fragile.
Fragile would be to put it mildly. And he was able to make the studio a place conducive to work, which I think a lot of producers find, you know, a lot of it is just sort of telling you what to do and you scurry off and you say, okay. You know, and John was very much, you know, we'd run around the studio sort of saying, what do you think, John? And he'd go, well, I don't know, you're the band. You decide, you know. I'll tell you when you're going wrong. So, but it was also, one of the things I'm eternally grateful for is making the studio a place that no longer seemed like some sort of science lab, you know, and actually just seemed like something you only make something your own when you've learnt to use it and abuse it, and that's kind of what we started doing. And John was brilliant at doing that. You know, he took out all the mystery out of recording and made it something that you can enjoy just like playing, you know. I mean, up until that point, we'd never really had the opportunity to record to any degree that we were satisfied with, because it was always like, oh, well, you got a day here, go and do another song, you know, or here's 2.5 weeks to do the first album, which we didn't expect to do well anyway. So it was, everything was turned around when we did it, and he was the perfect guy for the job, really.
A lot of bands seem like they're going to houses these days. Like they're recording.
Yeah.
You guys?
I think the most important thing is to have fun and be relaxed in a studio, you know, and that's the thing. And it depends on the environment. Bands do different things too. Didn't Nine Inch Nails record in Charles Manson's old house or something like that? I mean, we wouldn't find that relaxing. Yeah, I think whatever it takes to relax, you know, to get a good atmosphere.
The most conducive period of recording was 2 weeks in the burning hot sunshine in the middle of an English summer, just outside Oxford, in a studio called the Manor. And it was like, you know, there's a swimming pool, and we're just basically pretty lazy people, really, when it comes down to it. And the idea of just sitting in the studio and not seeing daylight for days on end, it's just daft, you know, and all this expensive gear being everywhere. It's totally artificial, especially when you've been on tour, you've been travelling all the time, and then suddenly you're bunged in this little tiny dark box with loads of really expensive science stuff.
Well, I mean, the sunshine and the nice weather and the pool, even if you never go swimming or never go outside, just knowing that you can is going to be able to help.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, that's a huge part, yeah. So how much, I guess before you started doing that, had you worked much in the past with doing string arrangements, or?
No, that was a friend of mine from college I used to be in a band with, could play the violin, and John had a friend who was playing cello, and we were sitting there listening to Fake Plastic Trees, and it seemed like a kind of the only texture that would fit, that would you know, sit there. And John and I spent a whole day trying to find the most antagonistic notes we could get, so to pull, you know, what is essentially a really straight melody to bits, you know, really stretch it like catgut or something. And then we kind of got hooked on it, really, and started using it on other stuff.
Yeah. And is it the same? Is it as easy to tell those players, or give those players suggestions, as it would be, you know, where you're just guitars and bass and can say, oh, why don't you try this? Or do you have to sort of hum it along? Or, I mean, can you
John's kind of musical, really, and he just sat there and go, and I'd, you know, I'd go, yeah, that one, and that one, and that one. And I'm going, okay. And he'd be sitting there writing it out. So he's kind of musical, and he just gives it to them and transposes it, and he does all, you know, he's a proper musician. He's the proper musician in the band.
That's good. Any idea what the next single is going to be? Or thought about it yet at all?
Well, I don't know what the next single's going to be, but we know the single in the UK and the rest of the world is High and Dry at the moment.
Yeah.
So that might well be the second single. It'll almost certainly be a single over here, but there's...
Really?
Yeah, definitely. There's Justice, Maybe in the Reckoning,
Bones, the Bends,
whatever.
Black Star, Street Spirit.
I think what we quite like to do is like have a bit of an up-tempo single next time, because this is kind of melancholic and it's nice and it's... But
I think at least 5 singles.
yeah, doing Michael Jackson on this album.
Well, actually, 12 would be better.
Why not?
Why not?
Is there a video for it over there yet? Or?
For High and Dry?
Yeah.
David Mould did it. We filmed it out in the same week that we did the Fake Plastic Trees out in LA, just in the place where they filmed, a place called Vasquez Rocks, where they did the Flintstones, filmed the Flintstones, and Bill and Ted's was there. And, you know, the park ranger, being an LA park ranger, was giving directorial tips. He knew, you know, I mean, he doesn't just water the trees. He, you know, he says, we get some great shots over here and here, nice angle down there. So, yeah, it was, and they rain on us and stuff like that. So it's a performance-based video. It's totally different from Jake's.
Okay, well, that'd be good in case we get that. We can use that. So you want to just tell us what the touring situation is? How long it's going to go on?
He knows. I
always know. We're coming over at the end of May and through June. And we're doing like club tour throughout the States, and we're then going over to Japan for 2 weeks, and then we'll be coming back. Basically, I mean, up from sort of end of May onwards, we'll be doing at least 2 tours over here.
Wow.
through to the fall and stuff like that.
Actually, if certain people had their way, I think it'd be about 6 or 7.
6 or 7 tours up until the end of the year.
And we record the next album at weekends.
All right.
Lunch
thanks.
breaks.
Can you do some IDs for us?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Great. Unless there's anything I missed that you feel like you want to talk about.
No, oh, don't. I never know.
Okay, I can count you for this. 120-minute ID, take 1 in 5, 4, 3.
Hi, we're Radiohead, and you're watching 120 minutes on MTV.
Music, television.
You know what? I'm sorry. Can we do that one again?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Take 2?
Do you want to say your names?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I didn't know who it was going to be, so I didn't put names in.
120 ID, take 2 in 5, 4, 3.
You start.
This is Thom.
And this is Ed. We're Radiohead, and you're watching 120 minutes on MTV.
Music, television.
Alternative Nation ID, take 1
I'll do Kennedy. You can do the
Okay.
rest.
Okay.
in 5, 4, 3.
You know what? Do you want to say we're from Radiohead?
Okay.
Instead of we're. Yeah.
Okay.
We're from Radiohead. Where's
We're from
that?
Radiohead.
Radiohead.
Wadwick.
Radiohead.
In 5, 4, 3.
Hi. We're Radiohead.
And you're watching Alternative Nation with
Kennedy.
You know what? Can you just
the
instead?
names.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
say we're from Radiohead.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah, we're not
Introduce-
actually all Radiohead.
Okay.
Take 2 in 5,
I'll do
4,
We're Radiohead.
Okay.
3.
We're Radiohead.
And you're watching Alternative Nation with Kennedy.
Can we do it again?
We're,
please?
we're from.
We're from. Oh yeah.
Say your
yeah.
name.
Just say our names.
Yeah.
Your
sorry.
names, and then we're from Radiohead.
Yeah. You wouldn't thought we got degrees, would you? Yeah.
5, 4, 3.
I'm Thom.
I'm Ed,
We're from Radiohead.
and you're watching Alternative Nation with.
Kennedy.
Okay. And can we just do the 121?
Yeah.
Like that
Okay,
one time?
what's
So
the
they say
20-minute
we're-
ID?
Just say we're from.
Okay.
In 5, 4, 3.
Hi, we're from Radiohead. I'm Thom. He's Ed.
And you're watching 120 minutes on MTV.
Great. Thanks, guys.